Alright guys, let's rewind the clock for a second here, because back on June 15th, 2025, I published a full detailed stock report on First Solar, ticker FSLR, inside of the Discord. And today, I want to do a proper recap and break down how that idea actually played out, because it did exceptionally well. In fact, much better than I expected. So sit back, relax, enjoy the nostalgic gameplay, and let's walk through the numbers. Friendly reminder that this isn't financial advice, just entertainment. Alright, so at the time of the report, the stock was trading at $175, but I waited a little and the stock did drop down, and I entered at $143. It actually dropped a little bit more, but it's almost impossible to time the exact bottom, and this wasn't such a bad entry. Fast forward to today, and the position is up roughly 90% from my entry, just 6 months ago. That's not a random move. That's a sustained trend higher, supported by the business actually executing. Okay, so you're probably wondering what made me buy the stock in the first place, and what stood out to me 6 months ago. And honestly, it was actually kind of simple. If we go back to the report, a few key points really mattered to me. First of all, revenue growth and profitability. They already had strong year-on-year growth, and margins continued improving. This is like the most important factor for me personally, so it immediately caught my attention. There is no point investing in a dying business, and revenue growth is a sign of a living and thriving business. So for me, this was a W. Second, policy and demand tailwinds. I specifically mentioned U.S. Inflation Reduction Act subsidies, global renewable demand, and AI-driven energy needs, all of which helped push the stock price up. I wasn't fooled by the AI bubble nonsense and fear stories being shared by mainstream media or crappy analysts. And third, institutional positioning. At the time, institutional buys were already outweighing sells, especially in the most recent quarters. And that one is key, guys. The fact that the most recent quarter showed institutions were especially bullish. Institutions often have the bigger picture before us retail investors do. And it was that combination which laid a pretty solid foundation, and results we've now seen. I'll also mention that I did flag free cash flow as a potential short-term concern in the report, and that was certainly valid. We can never get too ahead of ourselves and ignore red flags. Although I did mention this potential risk, the stock was able to maintain a very positive sentiment. Also, guidance pointed to a major improvement into 2025. I'm guessing this is why the market gained confidence. Now, let's put the gains into perspective. The S&P 500 averages about 10% per year. However, my FSLR pick has since shot up around 90% from when I called just 6 months ago. That means that pick beats the market at least 9 times over in just half the time. Not too shabby. Just a friendly reminder, guys, that kind of outperformance doesn't come from chasing hype. It doesn't come from copying random people on Reddit or YouTube. Yes, me included. Don't take my word as gospel. Nobody is perfect, and this is why due diligence is so important. Another reason is simply because the same data can mean so many different things, depending on how it's interpreted. From my experience, the big wins come from building a system you can consistently follow, grounded in solid fundamentals and having a sound execution plan. It comes from identifying strong setups before the market fully prices them in. This does take a bit of balls, as it can be difficult to invest in a stock that the market has been ignoring, but it definitely pays off in the long run. I do hope you guys in the Discord were able to benefit from this report and catch a big part of the move. There's a lot of smart people in there sharing ideas, challenging each other, including me, and helping everyone improve. The community is growing, so if you want access to future reports like this before the move happens, the Discord link is there if you want to check it out and catch the next one early. And once again, these sorts of wins don't come every day, but when they do, It tastes sweeter knowing you did the necessary due diligence and reading to understand the stock and its balance sheet. Consistent wins come from planning, reading, researching, and being patient enough to let strong ideas play out. They're not easy, but they're absolutely not impossible either. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you all watching. I hope you gained something from this. Let me know what you'd like to see next, or maybe just share in the comments some of your biggest recent wins. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.